And we're live. Paige, Bueckers, and Sarah Strong dominant again in the Big East opener. You're locked on.
You are Locked On UConn, your daily podcast on the UConn Huskies. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On UConn your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Before we dive into today's show, just wanted to come up to say thank you to all of you who either are on here live or subscribe to the podcast. This podcast has grown immensely over the last 9 months because of people like you. We're proud to say we're the only daily podcast covering the women's and the men's basketball, the basketball capital of the world, and we throw in some football. We're thrilled to bring you that coverage to show our gratitude. We're giving back. We're donating 10% of our revenue to Husky Ticket Project, helping send kids to UConn games. And we're also making monthly donations to Bleeding Blue for Good, supporting NIL initiatives that make a big difference. If you're enjoying the show, take a moment to subscribe, follow, and leave a review wherever you listen. Thanks again for making Locked On UConn your first listen every day. You can start the season with a big return with FanDuel. They are our title sponsor. New customers can place a $5 bet and get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, UConn versus Georgetown was exactly how I described it in my appearance on Locked On Women's Basketball, because UConn started a little slow, but they came out with a vengeance. I think they had a tongue lashing from Gino and the staff about their effort, about what's coming ahead. This game was kind of like the appetizer before the two main courses, and they had a commanding win over Georgetown in the Big East opener. Paige, Bueckers, and Sarah Strong stole the spotlight, showcasing how much they mean to this team from a leadership perspective, from a scoring, rebounding, just anything you can think of, those two did. But it wasn't just about the stars. I think UConn in these games really tries to show their depth when it comes to who they have on this team, particularly after a tough loss to Notre Dame. So we also will look ahead to the challenging week as UConn prepares to face number 18 Iowa State and USC. From Emily Ryan and Audie Crooks to Juju Watkins and Raya Marshall. These matchups will definitely push the Huskies to prove they belong in this title run or title conversation. Without AZ Fudd, we don't know. She still was not a show today. Didn't even dress, so that's not necessarily concerning. But right now, I think she's a little more than day to day. But I think they're just trying to not push the panic button just yet. So we'll talk about that. So let's get into it. 79-44. This game was exactly the response I think most fans had hoped for after a tough loss to Notre Dame. The Huskies came out strong, led by standout performances from Paige and Sarah. Talk about Paige first. She was incredible, finishing with 24 points. And I think the only thing that I can still kind of criticize her for, and this is only because I'm parroting what Gino and others have said, which is she turns down too many open shots, and because she's trying to get the perfect play, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I think she's too unselfish. She's the person that goes out of her way to get you a thoughtful present when she could have just got you a gift card. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean the idea of her not being the focal point on offense and still getting 24 and then 25 points against Notre Dame in a loss, I think is a little. It's selfish of us. Because we want to see her score more. We want to see her be more assertive. And I honestly think it comes down to we were a little pissed off that Caitlin Clark in Iowa got a lot of the shine the last couple of years because of how she played. And people wanted to say, well, what about Paige? She's done blah, 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 blah. And she's just as good, if not better. But you have to be kind of like you have to be a ball knower. You have to be a basketball connoisseur to enjoy Paige's game, because the way she paces her movement to the basket, her pace of play in general, she's not overly in a rush. She doesn't let anything bother her. She plays with emotion, but she doesn't get crazy. She may call hey, where are my fouls and stuff like that, but she doesn't pout like someone like Caitlin did most of last year. And so but at the same time, listen, she provided as much offense as UConn needs especially in a game like this where it was really never in doubt. She can score in transition. She pretty much hits any shot in rhythm. She was 2 of 3 from 3 tonight, which is a good thing. She makes all the right decisions under pressure, and that helps set the tone for the young Huskies. She's an All-American. I don't know what the ask is for her, but I do know that I don't think you can ask more of Sarah Strong. She was nothing short of dominant. 17 points, 14 rebounds, 5 assists, with a masterclass in versatility. Sarah is a force, and she has the ability to facilitate. She defended well tonight. She played the 5 spot in certain instances when Gino went not even small, but just kind of more agile because he put Morgan Shelley in at the 4 guard rotation with her, Paige, Caitlin, and Ashlyn. So those 4 plus Sarah make a pretty potent combination, because if Morgan Shelley can be what she was tonight on a bigger stage, then they can make another step forward and also not feel like they need AZ to rush back. What do we got? Let's keep it real. If this team doesn't toughen up, Dino doesn't start throwing more passion there at winning this year, how many times did Notre Dame put the ball out of their hands? Hey, man, I'll give you Chris. I will be honest with you, man. You can sit here and talk about how soft this team is, and it kind of makes me feel like you never played basketball before in your life. Because if you think this team is soft, then I would disagree with you. They played a road game at Notre Dame. Playing on the road in an intense environment is never easy, whether you're playing women's basketball, men's basketball, or rec league basketball. Because you don't get a whistle that is even close to neutral. It's usually going to trend in the opposite direction. Paige was getting grabbed and held for pretty much the entire game, but they let it go, and you got to play through that. My biggest issue with them that night was mental route lapses. Nothing to do with being soft. It's not being tight defense on Hannah Hidalgo. It's not being tight defense and going under the screen. So that's the biggest thing. If they get bullied, as you're saying, in South Carolina, then I will be with you. Or if they get bullied at Tennessee, they play these tough road environments that prepare you for the NCAA tournament. We shall see. This team made a Final Four last year that no one thought they were going to, with basically 5 players. They are much better this year, and they have Sarah Strong. If AZ can come back somewhat full strength, even if she plays 15, 20 minutes a game and doesn't hurt herself again, this team is absolutely in the title contention. So you can take all of your concerns, file them away, come at me at the end of the year, because it is way too early to start talking about this team is soft. Coach has lost his juice. Give me a freaking break, dude. This guy is the greatest coach in college basketball history. And you're going to sit there on a YouTube channel and try to talk smack to him or me about UConn? Go bring that someplace else. When we come back from the break, we are going to talk through. Let's see what we got here. Sarah Strong, take some key takeaways from this game, and we'll do that after I talk to you about my good friends at FanDuel. All right, FanDuel. Where are you at, guys? Let's get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more in the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You can start with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right. We're back. Let's see. Let's get Chris. Hey, if you're such an expert, why don't you come on the show? There's your link. I started watching this in 1993 when I was 12 years old. I've been watching since 1994 before the Natty. Well, come and school me, man. There's the link. I have no fear. I'm not concerned about you. But I guarantee you won't jump on. That I can tell you. All right. Can't wait for your show to come out, Chris. Give us a taste of it now. Why don't you jump on the show right now and talk all of the smack you want? Did you see that rebound where the player deliberately roughed her up? Yeah, and they should have called a foul, and they didn't. And so you want them to fight? Dude, you're not hijacking this show. let's talk about what's next. So, look, the defense was smothering tonight. They managed to manage just 16 points. Georgetown did, combined in the second and third quarters. A lot of it is because I feel like there was a lot more sense of adversity or sense of urgency in this game, and really trying to prove that the Notre Dame game was more of a fluke than it was a regular occurrence. I know this is a lesser opponent, but they did come in with two guards averaging 21 points and 14 points respectively. And they were able to shut them down. And I think Rivera had like 14 or something like 10 or 11 turnovers. Let me look at the box score really quick. Gotta love keyboard warriors, man. Give the guy a platform to come on here and jump on, and he's still in the chat just spouting nonsense. So let's just go through this box score really quick again. Victoria Rivera Kelsey Ransom had 9 turnovers. Victoria Rivera only had 6 points. Between the two of them, they were averaging 34 points a game, the starting backcourt, and they only scored 13. If it wasn't for Ariel Jenkins and Jada Wilson, they probably would have scored 20-something points tonight. So the one thing I did say on the appearance on women's college basketball, on Locked On Women's Basketball, is that they said, "What are you looking forward to in the Big East season?" And I said, "Not much. It's like a break. It's a break from the real games that they're going to play this year." And that's unfortunate because they have, most of the time when you play your conference, like when Notre Dame was in the Big East, you definitely had some bigger games in conference. Creighton is decent, but that's about it, guys. So I just think that the issue with this season is going to be, are they going to play enough teams that get them ready for March for when they do play in Elite Eights and Final Fours? Because make no mistake, they're going to be right there at the end. Whether they win a national championship is all going to depend on how this team develops, and how they pay attention to detail more. You can't play a team like Notre Dame or Iowa State or USC coming up, and like a great example with like Juju Watkins. You're going to go under every screen on her? Are you going to let her, drive to the basket? Who's going to guard her? Are they going to give Paige the assignment, or is someone like, or does Caitlin Chen just kind of get under her, like, even though she's smaller, and really kind of try to disrupt her and try to shoot over her at times? So that's going to be the issue. And I think the only other issue I have with the team is I really thought Ice Brady was going to have a better year this year as kind of the enforcer, tougher, kind of doesn't need to worry about scoring, but can kind of do all the dirty work. She has not done that. Ashlyn Shade was better tonight, but even still, she's been okay. I think Caitlin Chen's kind of been a disappointment, if I'm being honest. Through 10 games, I think she's been okay, but I think the leadership that they asked of her to come in here as a winning player from Princeton, and all of the things that were touted for her, has not really come to fruition. I love that we got some good minutes tonight from Allie, from Morgan, and from Jana. Jana, again, is still not where she needs to be, but there's still time. Morgan Shelley, it was the most impressive of the freshmen tonight. You finally got Allie hitting a 3 tonight, although she missed 4. But hey, keep shooting. She's a shooter. She's going to be fine. This team is it's still just a work in progress, and I think the guys like that are I think he's probably still talking in the comments. I've kind of turned it off for a second, but let's check it. What's he still doing? Yeah, I am questioning her toughness, because she really isn't. She worries about too many different things. She didn't even start the second half. Do you think Gino's is excited about her play when she starts, and then he brings in has someone else start in the second half? Same thing. He did the same thing in Notre Dame too. They didn't start in the second half. So this guy's insane, bro. Look, would you like the link to come on the show? You've talked. There's no one else in the comments but you. So if you'd like to actually come on and have a conversation, feel free. You see closer that you are acting like Whatever, guys. Last break, and then we're going to talk about the upcoming 2 games, and then I'm going to go have fun with my family and not argue with random dudes on my YouTube channel. Sound good? Sounds good. It's that time of year again. The college football playoff is back. And with the newly expanded 12-team format, it's guaranteed to be a bigger and better than ever, bringing you all the hard-hitting, high-flying excitement that you love. TNT Sports coverage of the college football playoff begins December 21st, starting with the college football playoff kickoff show presented by AT&T at 11 Eastern, leading into our first matchup, SMU Mustangs battling the Penn State Nittany Lions at noon. Then the Clemson Tigers look to upset the Texas Longhorns in a showdown at 4 p.m. Don't miss a moment of the action with college football playoff presented by Allstate, live on TNT, True TV, TBS, and Max. All right. Welcome back to Locked On UConn. Let's shift our focus. What's ahead, starting with Iowa State. The Cyclones are ranked 18th for a reason, and they're going to present some tough challenges. And they were ranked a lot higher to start the year. Their offense runs through Emily Ryan, a talented guard who can control the game with her playmaking and scoring. She's smart, composed, and dangerous in transition, so UConn's backcourt will need to be sharp defensively to contain her. And there's Audie Crooks. She's a load. She's an absolute monster in the paint. She's dominant, 6'3". She uses her size and skill to control the boards. Let's just say Jana, Ice, and Sarah, whoever is under there, is going to have to really play tough or to use what euphemism to play strong, because she's a big gal. She's very very physical. She's a wide body, so she takes up a lot of space. So they'll need to really kind of step up their boxing out game. Outside of let's just say, I hope they don't give up as many offensive rebounds in the Notre Dame game, or it's going to be a long night. We got to keep the physicality up to make sure that they keep Crooks from taking over the game down low. Iowa State has an ability to execute in the half court and stretch defenses, and because of Crooks' versatility down low, it creates spacing where they can kick out to shooters. So after Iowa State, the Huskies will take on USC. We all know who USC is, another tough opponent. It's a rematch of the Elite Eight last year, where UConn upset the number 1 seed Trojans. Watkins is one of the brightest stars in the game, capable of taking over with her scoring and playmaking. I think she's the fastest to 1,000 points in NCAA history. I think I read that somewhere. Either way, she's an incredible scorer. UConn also needs to keep an eye on Raya Marshall, who brings physicality and strong presence in the paint. USC's defense will test UConn's ability to execute under pressure, making this another critical matchup. Because look, after those 2 games, if we go to their schedule, let's do that right now. You got Iowa State, USC, then a bevy of it. Like I said on my podcast appearance on Locked On Women's Basketball. If you're not a fan of that, or if you're not subscribed to that, go check it out right now. Providence, at Marquette, at Villanova, Xavier, Georgetown, St. John's, Seton Hall, Villanova, at Creighton. They don't play another ranked team unless one of these Big East teams has a renaissance until February 6th. So the month of January is the last game against Providence is on the 29th, and then all the way to February 2nd. So over a month, 40-something days, where they don't play a quality opponent until they go to Tennessee. And they play in Knoxville against our old frenemies in the Lady Vols. Yeah. If there was ever a team that would benefit from UConn moving to the Big 12, it's the UConn women, because the Big East offers little resistance. So they're really only going to play 2 more ranked teams this year, Tennessee and South Carolina. So there's some positives and negatives to that. The positive is you can play more people and get them ready. But are they truly going to be ready for that crazy environment playing at Creighton or at DePaul? Probably not, or at Georgetown. Because when you go to Tennessee, you play on that Pat Summit court, Tennessee is not what they used to be. They scored 140 points the other night. Like they're not gonna lay down. And then at Columbia, where I will be for that game on February 16th, live on ABC at 1:00. That's what the rest of this season should be after these two games, Iowa State and USC, is preparing for the matchups at the end of the year so that you can take some momentum into the Big East tournament and then onto the NCAA tournament. So, look, both games are big opportunities for UConn to prove they belong among the nation's elite. I think we all think they can, but I want them to prove it because, again, the opportunities are slim and none. And both of these teams have an opportunity to give UConn 2 more losses. And we're just going to see where we go. I'm curious to see what happens with AZ and if she plays at all in these next 2 games, or if they just shut her down until after Christmas, or even just the whole year, not whole year, but until January, and then let her play the Big East season and kind of, give her segmented parts of the year to kind of make sure she gets enough rest. We'll see. The team should expect to not have AZ, even though she's been available for a few games this year and she's helped them immensely. So we're just going to go from there. This has been another episode of Locked On UConn. I'm Mark Zanetto, asking you to stay locked on, stay connected, and to remember that it's not just about getting it done. It's about doing it in a way that can't be done any better. That's our goal every day. And all I got to say is go Huskies. See you next week.